Good morning, everyone. Today again we are having a session. Invariably on this platform, we are having sessions which are correlated to the law and the different professions. Beyond Laws CLC realized that not only having the knowledge of law is an important aspect for a lawyer or any professional to grow, but public speaking is a vast aspect wherein it also includes as to how one has to speak. And public speaking as a lawyer or a chartered accountant, or for that matter, any professional, once you learn the nuances of speaking, that itself creates an impact. And once you learn that from an expert like Mr. VIVEK ATRAY, you can nothing to beat it. As they say, you may read the books, you may listen to somebody, but once you hear somebody live, and that to a person who is an expert, who has created his own niche in different affairs wherever he has gone. When he was a youngster, he created his niche, not only in academics when he was an engineer, then as a cricketer, IAS officer, motivational speaker, author. He's doing it all. You name the thing, he creates it, he conceives it, perceives it, and achieves it. Mr. ATRAY is a known, his columns are regularly coming on different newspapers, etc. He's a regular columnist in Hindustan Times. He's a TED Talk speaker. He has a vast followers pan India and world. He is known for everything. And today we had asked him that as a lawyer, how we should speak publicly, poise with confidence. He, being an old friend of ours, he readily agreed. So we, on behalf of Beyond CLC, welcome you, and on behalf of ULS. Professor Ratan Singh, who is the director of ULS, will welcome you all on behalf of ULS as well as Beyond CLC. Over to Professor Ratan Singh.
Thank you, Vikasji. Friends, in fact, I have got an opportunity to listen to Mr. ATRAY for many times. Because reasonably, whenever he speaks right from the core of the heart. Either it's an art of writing, or either it's an art of speaking, or it's a motivational speech, or either sitting in some of the platforms to conducting a mock interview, and how to analyze the psyche of another person and how to express yourself. Probably he is the man who has an art of this. So what I feel is that today's the topic regarding public speaking. So what I feel is those who are the professionals, those who are to practice in the court, if they cannot speak before the court of law, and that too in a very confident way, probably whatever the knowledge they have, that's not so much worth until and unless this is not expressed in the right way and the right words. So what I feel is the time which we will now spend here to listen to Mr. ATRAY, probably this will be such much fruitful that once we will join and again start our practice, it will be definitely fruitful and we will definitely learn a lot of things. Thank you and welcome to Mr. ATRAY on this platform on behalf of University Institute of Legal Studies and Beyond Law CLC. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Just for, the participants who have entered for the first time, the session would be around for 40 to 50 minutes. Mr. ATRAY will give us the nuances of poise of speaking, speaking skills, how to speak with confidence. And thereafter, we will have a Q&A. We are posting on the chat box the mobile number because we had certain difficulties when he had posted sought questions on the group chat. Therefore, you can post your questions on the mobile number. We are just posting it. Otherwise, it is 98725 03300. The questions would be read to Mr. ATRAY, and Mr. ATRAY has been kind enough that he would give insights to the how to tackle those questions and the issues which boggle in our mind. Over to you, Mr. ATRAY.
Thank you very much, Vikas. Thank you, Professor Ratan Singh. I hope I'm audible.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Nice to see so many people joining in. It's great to be talking to the legal profession fraternity members mainly. But a lot of other friends also, I think, have joined in. So it's nice to see you all. Many of you I know personally, and some of you I don't. Greetings to all of you. And in this very unique time when we are locked in our homes, it is an opportunity through the technology that is available to connect, and to connect in such a manner that we can make use of our free days, if I may call them, to maybe enhance our qualities, our skills, our levels of whatever we do. And very humbly, I must say that I am not qualified to speak to lawyers, advocates, the legal fraternity on anything. But public speaking is something I do. And I do, speak in public almost every day on some webinar, seminar, or when lockdown is not there, I travel also to speak. So it is nice to share some tips and secrets and nuances with friends on how they can conduct themselves in public speaking. Many of you are wonderful orators yourself. I've heard many of you speaking, and you are wonderful orators always. But just a couple of preliminary ideas before we get into the nitty-gritties of it. The first thing is that I have found in my public speaking career, when I started off, I was SDM Kalka, and that is the first time I had to deliver a speech. I found that I was all at sea and not knowing what to do. And suddenly I was supposed to speak to people in Hindi, English, whatever, mainly Hindi. And then I was a chief guest at a school function where officers have to often go as chief guests. There I had to deliver a speech. Somehow I found the words flowing from somewhere within, which I did not even know that I had these words within me. When you come on stage, a different personality, aura, and different avatar is there. Somehow these words just flowed, and I never looked back. Fortunately, I did not have to undergo what people call stage fright. So let's talk of stage fright first. Stage fright basically means that you are conscious of people around you, nervous because they are present. There could be 100 of them, there could be 500, there could be 10 only. But when you are speaking in such a group, you are basically beset with some nervousness, fears, worries, trepidations, which might make you feel a little or more inhibited in your whatever you're going to say. And feeling inhibited and over nervous will obviously hamper and mar your performance. So what can be done to overcome stage fright? It is one of the oldest problems that mankind has faced, actually. I know for a fact that it is said that after death, actually men and women fear public speaking the most. It is a survey many times conducted, and public speaking is really terrifying for many people. As lawyers, as professionals, as executives, as anything in today's era, government officials, we have to speak before public people, representatives, before colleagues, before friends, and presentations are part of corporate world life anyway. So lots of things have to be done today by public communication. We cannot afford to have stage fright. And let me tell you right off my favorite story right now. I know that many people are still to join, but I think we have over 100 participants, so you can benefit from this story more than those who come in later. My favorite story on public speaking is the story of Albert Einstein's driver, and it will give you an idea of how to overcome the fear of stage fright. So some of you have heard the story of Albert Einstein's driver, and some of you may not have. So please bear with me if you've already heard it. So Albert Einstein, everybody knows, and the theory of relativity, E is equal to mc square. He was a great scientist. He was on a lecture tour of America. He was on a lecture tour of the US. And in that lecture tour, he was actually really making an effort to make his theory of relativity understood by others, by people who are not so familiar with his theory. And the driver was the same. The driver would go all over America with the great scientist. He would go to one university town, then another university town, then the third university town, and deliver the same lecture with the same driver, ferrying him to one town after another. So now comes the interesting part when one day they were going to the 24th or 25th town of university town. They were driving, and till today the driver had not spoken to Einstein except for basic necessities, whatever. Suddenly the driver on an empty road says, "Mr. Einstein, I have heard your lecture 24 times. I think even I can deliver this lecture now." And Mr. Einstein is quite taken aback. He is quite surprised. He is flabbergasted. He is bewildered. He is, shocked almost. But he is absolutely thrilled in a way. So Mr. Einstein actually says to the driver, "Yes, the next town is a very small town. They don't know how I look. In any case, there was no digital pictures in those days. Half the people did not even read newspapers. Even today, Americans don't read newspapers, I know for a fact." So basically, Mr. Einstein decided to become the driver, and the driver became Einstein, sat at the back. They received him with flowers. That is, they received the driver with flowers in the town. And thereafter, the driver went on to the stage to deliver a lecture on the theory of relativity. And Mr. Einstein went and sat at the back of the hall, just as the driver used to do every day. And he listened to his driver speaking so beautifully, so effectively, and so, garrulously, just couldn't stop speaking. He's speaking and speaking and speaking and delivering a perfect lecture on the theory of relativity. When finally he comes to a close of his lecture, he receives an applause, which is thunderous applause for that small crowd. The driver is thrilled to bits, but he finds one professor gets up, as professors always do. Professor Ratan Singh will bear with me. Professors get up and ask questions. So the professor asks a question which is so complicated that the driver obviously doesn't know the answer. But look at the presence of mind. He says, "Oh, professor, that's a very simple question. My driver will answer it." So the driver is Einstein and obviously is thrilled to answer it. But whether that driver was caught later and whether he was, he was exposed later, it's not a matter of concern to us. The matter is that the driver got away with a speech which Einstein could have delivered. Now, what is public speaking without some kind of presence of mind? If we are on the stage and we are pretending to be someone else, and we are nervous and scared and terrified of the repercussions of our speech, or the effect we are having on others, or whatever impact we're having on others, then we are not going to be able to actually get away with anything. Our nervousness will be plain for everyone to see. So my advice and input to all is that when we speak in public, you have to be yourself. Being yourself is the first quality that you have to exhibit, to feel. If we try to become someone else who is senior to us, try to imitate him or her, try to become Amitabh Bachchan or Sachin Tendulkar or a different personality, then we will find ourselves falling short. So we have to be in our own skin, with our own personality present on the stage or in the court or wherever we are, and speak from the heart. As Professor Ratan Singh said, we have to speak from the heart. So being yourself is the first quality that I'd like to emphasize again. Do not try to imitate anyone. You know what language skills you have. You know which language you are best at. You know which words you are comfortable with, which expressions and phrases and manners of speaking. So please stick to them. Please stick to the vocabulary and the armory that you have. Do not try to learn a new word. Like I was speaking on another platform where I said that suddenly you learn a word like indefatigable. and you start speaking, using that word indefatigable everywhere, after a while you'll find you're not so indefatigable and you'll be exposed. So it is very important to stick to your vocabulary. Yes, you can learn new words all the time, but become comfortable with them. Use them in practice. Practice doesn't mean when you're practicing as a lawyer, but practicing at home, maybe with a small group of people. Practicing is always good for public speakers. I often tell young public speakers, practice with a small group of 2 or 3 people. Deliver your speech to them first. Come up with whatever expressions you feel you should use, and then come to what you should be coming up with later. So I think that is the most important skill that you ought to have. Vikas, am I audible and visible? I hope you can see me and hear me. Can someone tell me? I'll just see the chat. Yes, okay, I'm getting yes, okay, fine. I'll continue. I'm getting lots of yes and perfect from the audience. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to come up with a few nuances and finer points. We have just learned that we have to be ourselves and go to the public speaking stage or court or wherever we are, classroom, with our own personality, without trying to be someone else. What we need to also remember is that we have to prepare our content extremely well. So if we go for anything without preparation, we may be the greatest of orators, but we won't be able to do justice to our speech or our assertions or whatever we are planning to make. So it is very important to prepare content thoroughly, absolutely to the minutest T. It is important to be prepared. Even the greatest of orators will slip up if he doesn't know his content, if he doesn't know what he's going to say, or he has to interrupt his speech by asking someone something and then coming back to his speech. The flow will go. So we have to be very well prepared, and that is a basic which I must share with you. Even Mark Twain said that even the impromptu speech has to be delivered after weeks of preparation. What does he mean by that? He means that if you are asked to deliver an impromptu speech, you should always and already be prepared for what is to come. You should always be prepared for whatever scenarios you're going to have to speak in public with, which means that you are what you say, which means that you are living what you say. You have this basic foundation knowledge and grounding, which will enable you to espouse whatever you have to say in whatever scenario or situation. Those basics are always with you, which means the basic content of your profession, basic knowledge of your profession, or all-round skills. Like, for example, I'll share my own secret with you. If I have 5 or 6 topics to speak on, like one of my topics is emotional intelligence, one is leadership, another is e-governance, another is perhaps people skills, and then interpersonal relations. I speak on these topics regularly, and of course, public speaking skills, which we are talking about today. So I should know these 6 or 7 by heart in a way that I know 7 or 8 points or whatever number of points I need for a comprehensive lecture by heart. And I live them, I walk them, then I'm comfortable with them. They are part of me. Then I will be able to go forth and add to the content that is needed for a particular lecture or for a lawyer, a particular case. Because I know my basics, because I have a grounding, because I have a vocabulary, because I have a certain way of speaking and a manner of expressing and a manner of preparing, the rest of it is only facts and figures. So I can easily fill in my facts and figures into that blank space which is there. So I think that is something which also is important. Content is really vital. Content means preparation and hard work, and the basics are always with you. Some skills I would also like you to pick up. If you can, watch Barack Obama speaking. Barack Obama is someone who I look up to in various ways. We won't talk about any other US president today, but we'll talk about Barack Obama. And Barack Obama is someone who actually lives what he says. You can see that Barack Obama is full of charm, but full of cheerfulness, full of content. As the US president for 8 years, he would deliver speeches which were mesmerizing. Of course, his campaign is where he started. You know that he was contesting the elections and he was suddenly discovered as a great orator. Now, this great orator, Barack Obama, became even better and better and better as the 8 years of presidentship went on. He became so comfortable on the stage that I don't think anyone in history has been as much comfortable on stage as Barack Obama, in my view. He was absolutely himself, and he would say everything from the heart without being conscious of the fact that the world is watching him, the media is watching him, people are watching him. The American president cannot afford to make even one slip up. At least Barack Obama could not afford that. I don't know about other presidents. They can afford it, I guess. But the point is that Obama did not. And he made sure that he was up to date with his facts. He would not slip up, and he would speak in a charming manner. I would like to share a slightly light-hearted story with you on Barack Obama. Why? Just to illustrate my next point, which is going to be anecdotes and humor are also to be part of your speech wherever possible and permissible. I'm using almost legal terminology, wherever permissible. So basically, you cannot use a joke or an anecdote or a story wherever it's not permissible, say in court, wherever. But if you have a story or anecdote that fits your exposition, whatever you're saying, then it is good to use it. I speak generally, so I use this often. Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are known as the perfect couple. And they were even the perfect couple when they were in the White House. Their children were there. The family was just beautiful. One day, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama went out for lunch. And they were having lunch in a Washington, D.C. restaurant. They were having a quiet tete-a-tete, and suddenly we have a third person coming and joining them, or coming up to the table, a tall, handsome gentleman who comes and says hello to them and says to Michelle, Michelle, do you remember me from our high school days? And Michelle Obama smiles at him and is so delighted to see him. And she starts talking to him and introduces, of course, her husband, the President of the United States, where this conversation gets quite warm. So Barack Obama starts feeling a little jealous also. And this gentleman, after having a lot of conversation, goes back to his table. So Barack thinks now we can go back to our own conversation. But before that, Michelle comes up with a bombshell. And Michelle says that, Barack, if I had not married you, I would have married him. And Barack Obama is stunned like any man would be, and looks at the person with even more care. And, he gives him a looking over. He looks at him very carefully, and then he looks at Michelle again and says, but then you would not have been married to the President of the United States. She says, no, then he would have been the President of the United States. So there are things that come up in real life which you can use as anecdotes in your speech. And the way to share them has to be a way that fits in with your speech. Of course, this incident may not strictly fit in with public speaking skills. But the fact that there is an anecdote related to Obama, which you can say it. And the manner of saying it has to be that the last line, the punchline, has to be maybe louder than the rest of the lines. The punchline is something in any speech which has to be said with emphasis. And the humor which is there has to be brought out in whatever subtle way is possible. Humor is something which will make your audience cheerful right from the beginning. It cannot be overdone. It has to be balanced. It has to be subtle most of the time, unless you are Kapil Sharma, where it can be not so subtle. It can be blatant. But you have to be basically comfortable with your humor. A speech without humor should only be delivered when it is not permitted to be humorous, where rules are strict, where you are at a solemn occasion. Otherwise, a little bit of subtle humor is good in any public speaking, in any speech. A farewell speech, an after dinner speech, after wedding speech, or any speech where you feel friends, family, colleagues, listeners will appreciate your subtle sense of humor. Anecdotes are similar. Anecdotes can typically be from real life, and they can be from your own life. I mentioned briefly SDM Kalka days for me. It cannot be too much. It should not be too much. You cannot digress too much. So your digressions and your anecdotes have to be keeping in view the overall flow of the river. They cannot be little streams that become rivers themselves. They cannot become voluminous. We cannot have the story becoming the speech. The speech has to have little stories which branch off, and then you come back to the main thread of your story. Very vital to do that. So whatever humor and anecdotes you have, also rehearse them. So you should be aware that I'm going to use these particular stories in my speech. You can practice or know, or at least tell yourself, today I'm going to use the Albert Einstein one and this one. So these are things that you can do. And I can also say that some people, there are ways to tell stories. You shouldn't be laughing too much while delivering a speech and telling funny stories. The speaker should always have poise and not be overdoing his own laughter. Let the audience laugh whenever they have to. The sign of a good audience and a good orator, of course, is that they laugh at the right time and they clap at the right time. So that also means that you're in control of your situation as a speaker. You are able to go hold the room, as they say. If you can hold the attention of the room for an hour or 45 minutes or even 15 minutes or even 5 minutes, as per your requirement, that is all you need. The attention of the room should be with you. And human minds are fleeting in their attention span. They are always distracted. So it takes very little for the audience to be distracted. So you have to bring them back again and again and again. For teachers and professors especially, students' minds are, you know how they are. We've all been students in college or school. Some of you maybe even now are. You can, your minds are wandering into the future at the drop of a hat, wandering into the past at the drop of a hat, or wandering into some romantic escapades from by and by. So you have to basically, the speaker has to bring back the attention of the audience by coming up with something interesting from time to time and making sure that the voice is not so inaudible. This is another important point. The voice is not so soft that people doze off or people don't listen with care. And if the voice is monotonous, that is another problem at times. So a monotonous voice is one where there is no intonation, where there is no raising of pitch or tone. So the monotonous voice will read, I don't want to name anyone, but if you remember, old timers will remember Jalandhar TV. Jalandhar TV had a newsreader called Raman Kumar. I wonder if you remember him, Punjabi newsreader Raman Kumar. And he was very good, no doubt. But he would read the news in a monotonous way. Monotonous way. Of course, today's newsreaders have become too dynamic. They don't read in monotonous ways. They are over scary rather, and they go overboard. So they have to be balanced as well. So coming to the next point, we have to raise our voice at times. We have to modulate our voice at times. When you're reading from a book or a paper, it is good to change your voice or raise your voice slightly. Because when you're quoting somebody, then it should be apparent from your tone and pitch and content of, your voice, that you are speaking on behalf of someone else. So when you're reading, especially from a book or a paper, it is important to do that. These are things which matter when you are speaking in public. Now let's come to the art of the pause. The art of the pause is vital. The greatest exponent of the pause, and you will agree with me, most of you, I guess, was Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now, Vajpayee would pause during his speeches as if he had finished. And during his speech in Parliament, Vajpayee would close his eyes, pause, and maybe think of his next few sentences. People would wonder whether he is now going to end, or whether he has forgotten, or whether he is, what is he going to do next? But that pause and the starting after the pause was so fantastic that when he started again, it was with renewed energy and punches after punches in his speech, which means that he would spark brilliance over there. If you look at him, he would use the pause to magnificent effect. No speaker can afford to rattle off for 1 hour without pause. In fact, I myself criticize myself at times that I need to pause more. Perhaps that pause will help speakers to become better speakers, and that pause will also help the audience to ingrain what you're saying, imbibe what you're saying. Give them that breather. And it can be deliberate, it can be habitual, it can be from time to time. Of course, the pause cannot be like Vajpayee's too long. He could carry it off. You and I may not be able to. So the pause has to be just sufficient, as much as required. And that pause also gives you time to think, perhaps look at your notes. Which brings me to the next point, that should we have a written speech or can we speak extempore? Of course, we can speak extempore. Today I'm speaking extempore because I have been through this speech a few times. But you look at Sachin Tendulkar's retirement speech. Now, Tendulkar is not an orator. Tendulkar is a batsman, or was a batsman. But that retirement speech of 24-25 minutes, where he had jotted down only 7 or 8 or 10 points. One word: Mascarenhas, father-in-law, mother-in-law, friends, colleagues, spectators, fans, BCCI, whatever he had written. These were only points he had written. The moment he looked at the point, he knew what to say. So if we have a few points jotted down and know what to say on each point, I think that is sufficient. Of course, you have to be in command of your content. When you're speaking about your own life, it is easy to do so. But if you're speaking about something unfamiliar, you need more notes, more content. But these points will help you to focus on everything that needs to be said and not miss out anything. And as soon as you see the point, you know that this is what you're going to say. It also really adds weightage to your speech. I tell youngsters who are appearing for interviews, UPSC interviews, other interviews, that always structure your speech or your content by saying, sir, I have 3 points on this. Firstly, this. Secondly, this. Thirdly, this. That also gives the listener an opportunity to understand better. Sometimes you are just, flowing and mesmerizing the audience. And at the end of it, the audience is, what a wonderful speaker, but they don't remember what you said. So you have to be content-wise very well prepared, and you have to be careful that you are able to give across that message. Now, let me talk a little bit about body language. Body language is also very, very important. It's highly important that you are able to express yourself with your personality also. So maybe your content is great. Maybe your delivery is also great. But maybe your body language is not amenable, or maybe not in consonance with what you're saying and how you're saying it. I'll speak of Amitabh Bachchan because nobody had greater impact on Indian cinema with his body language than Amitabh Bachchan. Tall guy. You look at him in his movies, you look at him in Kaun Banega Crorepati. 2 different personalities. In his films, he would be that larger-than-life picture, image of a person, usually a smuggler or a don or something, maybe something else, of course. In Kaun Banega Crorepati, sitting opposite a common man, Amitabh Bachchan becomes the epitome of humility. And he is sitting there so humbly, being himself, very humble, making the other person feel comfortable. His body language is such that he doesn't make the other person feel nervous that I am sitting in front of Amitabh Bachchan. I'm on the sets of KBC. He is there to make the guy feel better than he's feeling and feel on top of the world. How he fits in very quietly into that show and makes the common person feel as if he is Amitabh Bachchan and not this guy sitting in front of him. So this is also an body language ability and the ability to speak softly and humbly whatever he has. Suddenly, if he started mouthing his Zabardast dialogues from Agnipath, the other guy would also start feeling a little shy or scared. But body language also means we don't use our hands too much. We use them only as much as required. I am not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But it is important to practice when you're practicing your speech as to where will your hands go. Some people are awkward with their hands in the pocket or somewhere here. They don't know what to do with their hands. So you have to let them flow naturally. Let them be natural. Let them not move around too much, but let them move around enough. Like right now, I'm seated. I'm sitting down. When you're standing, because this is a lockdown era, I have to be seated. If I'm standing, then I have to be in a different camera and everything. So I have to be in a standing situation. I have to face the audience. If I'm walking around on the stage, for some reason I'm on the stage, then I have to make sure that I make eye contact with all sections of the audience. And many speakers will tell you, find a point at the end of the hall, find a point at the left of the hall and the right of the hall, and perhaps on the front row. And look at these 4 points from time to time. And eye contact is important. Of course, when you're a lawyer, you have to look at the judge. You cannot afford to make eye contact with anyone else. But generally speaking, if you are able to look at 4 points in a public gathering, it shows as if you are caring for each section of the audience. Of course, it's difficult in a large group to meet everybody's eyes, may not be possible. And it is important to just make sure that the back row especially feels your eye contact. If it is not a very large hall, if it is a very large hall, I've been to universities at times where even 3,000, 4,000 people are there. So then you have to raise your voice and tell the last row, are you okay, everyone at the back? And then they know that this guy wants us to pay attention. If a speaker's success comes from the fact that nobody looks at his phone, if you can make people listen to you for 45 minutes without them looking at their phone, that is your greatest success. Yes. Are we done with time, Vikas?
No, sir. I'm just checking it out what has happened.
Okay, I'll continue for another 5-10 minutes and we can take questions.
Yeah, you can continue. It is only that we have gone. So we have only gone live on YouTube. Probably that happened.
Yeah. So what you can do is to request everyone on chat to get their questions ready.
They have started posing the questions. Right. I will read it once you are through.
All right. So the next point I'd like to raise is how an idol of mine overcame nervousness. There is a story of Paramhansa Yogananda. I have the book here. I kept it here because I feel it's a life-enhancing book. Everyone can have a look at it and read it whenever they feel it's important. It's a spiritual classic, and it's a book that changed my life. I became much calmer after that. He was on a ship going in 1920 to America. As a 27-year-old yogi monk, looking different from everybody on that ship, and he was invited to deliver a lecture at an international forum in Boston. When he is going there on that ship, somebody got to know that this is an international speaker. He's going to speak in Boston. One of the American passengers convinced him to deliver a speech on how to combat the problems of life or how to win the battle of life. Now, Yogananda ji was not an English speaker. He was a Bengali, Mukund Lal Ghosh by birth. He describes in the autobiography of a yogi how he stood there for 10 minutes and everybody started laughing because he couldn't say a word for 10 minutes. And then, of course, this is a matter of belief. He had divine prayer to give to the God. And he said, please help me, God and Guru. And then the divine help came, and he was able to speak quite fluently and impressed all his audience. In fact, he got many more invitations to speak in America after that speech. Now, all of us cannot get that divine help until we are attuned with the divine. So what do? We have to prepare for emergencies. We have to prepare for the worst. What is the worst that can happen to you on the stage? Let's say we are talking about a stage. The mic may fall down. A glass of water may fall on your shirt or pants. Somebody may start shouting at you from the audience. The power may go. You may forget your lines and lose your papers. These are the worst things that can happen, I guess. I doubt that anyone's going to try and attack you or something on this for a speech. So if these are the worst things that can happen, they are not that bad. They are not so bad that we feel terrified to bits about public speaking. So let us overcome the fear of public speaking by telling ourselves that nothing can go so wrong that I will come out feeling that this is the end of the world. So go there with confidence. Tell yourself that you will do your best, prepare well, and be balanced. One thing that I must say now, although I could have saved it for the end, there's a quote: always make sure you have finished speaking before your audience has finished listening. I love this quote because the audience span of attention is limited and you are going on and on and on. So you have to know. That's why I always try to keep it shorter than the time given to me, because then the audience is still left asking for more. So you retire like Sunil Gavaskar when they thought he'll still play a few matches, instead of retiring like some of the players who went on too much. So my last input would be, before we go to Q&A, listen to great speakers on YouTube. Watch videos of great orators. Read books. I have a book here which you can maybe look at sometime. This is the world's great speeches, the great speeches of the world. And I'm sure that you'll find many others. This is just one example I had. So you can probably go through books which give you nuances and tips. Winston Churchill, great people who could just speak so beautifully. John F. Kennedy, it is said that Kennedy did not have much content, but he was a great orator and he could pull off a lot of things. So this is something we can learn. The art of public speaking is science of public speaking, actually. It comes to some people naturally and it comes to some people with a lot of effort, preparation. But for everyone, preparation is necessary. It is very necessary to prepare and to be hardworking at your speech delivery. Don't take it lightly. It is something which is an important part of your persona and your profession. And it is something that you must give a lot of emphasis to. So I think I've run out of points. I have a question already. So should we, it is already 12:15.
We can go for the question and answers.
Yeah, so, it is already 12:15.
One thing interesting, while I was seeing on the chat box, a dear friend of mine and an elder brother, he's also there, is Amar Vivek. I just thought that we have two Viveks on the platform, and once we call Vivek means knowledge, and we thought it's the best way to catch from you. So first, I will read Amar Vivek's question only. You rightly said that all speakers need to be prepared well, but at times when we have a tough situation, we become nervous. I have practiced to hymn a bhajan or just relax through a mild lip singing. What is your take? How do you do it?
So what I do, and this is a tip I did not share, but now I must share it. I do a lot of deep breathing. So deep breathing helps me before a speech. I can do double breathing also at times. In fact, in 2020, with the virus, there are people whose lung capacity is not sufficient. And that is why they are suffering more with the virus. Those whose lung capacity is better are not suffering. So yoga helps. Deep breathing helps. Double breathing is a yogic practice which you can do. Even I don't mind doing it for you once here. So what you do is basically to exhale twice, inhale twice. So you do. Now you can do this a few times a day. It clears your lungs. It calms your nerves, makes you less nervous, It could be done while walking. It can be just deep breathing single also. And yes, hymns and bhajans are superb. I love them too. Music is a great, the question is absolutely spot on, because if you listen to calming music, if your nervousness is bound to be there. And Gavaskar said a few butterflies in the stomach are required. A few butterflies in the stomach make you perform better. But too many butterflies make you really scared and nervous. So I think it's a good practice, yes. Go ahead, please. Next question.
Harsh Sharma. How to be positive whole day? We want to know. And how does Mr. Vivek ATRAY start his day?
Yeah, so this is not a session on positive thinking, but I can definitely share this point. Positive thinking is also part of public speaking, because the aura of the speaker will be much better if he's exuding that positivity and calmness, because the calm mind will speak better and will perform better in any situation, decision making or anything. So my trick is basically meditation. And meditation, since you're asking me personally, meditation is something morning and evening which I do twice a day. Short meditation before lunch also these days because of lockdown. So you can actually do 10 or 20 or 30 minutes of meditation in the morning and 10, 20, 30 minutes in the evening, whatever you can do, accomplish. And meditation is to be practiced through some techniques. It cannot be that you're just sitting and visualizing God and your mind will go to all kinds of, from mangoes to chocolate ice cream everywhere. So you have to be really, really focused with the technique. And you will try, you have to, I follow Kriya Yoga, Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings, they follow by lessons of meditation. I can write the website for you later. So that really helps me to remain calm and positive.
Vishal Sharma. How can we improve our speaking skills and body language?
Yeah, so you can improve your speaking skills by practice, as I said. I know of someone, in fact, I can name him. He's Professor Atul Khosla. He's the Pro Vice Chancellor of Shulini University. And he's a friend. I'm also advisor with Shulini. I speak to him. He says for 7 years, every morning he would practice speaking in front of a camera. He was in the US. And he would record himself for 5 minutes every day and see how he has improved or not. So maybe not 7 years, but for 7 weeks, even if you do it every day, these days you have cameras, record yourself, speak to your friend or your spouse or your younger brother, sister, or your friend. And if they're children, then give them a chocolate later so that they are patient listeners. And practice makes you better.
iPhone asks how to overcome stress and nervousness before and while giving a speech. Before asking you that you should answer it, I would first say that first he or she, whosoever is, should come on the board with the name. That is the first step to overcome the shyness. Over to you, Mr. Vivek.
Yeah, no. Some people are not aware that they have to change their name, but it's okay. iPhone is asking what is more important, content or delivery. I can see it actually, that question. So I think both are important, equally important. I will say 51% is content and 49% is delivery. I've been a Sarkari person, so I talk of these 51, 49 kinds of scenarios. So 51% is content, and that means that you have to be prepared. Even if you're a great orator, you have to have something to say. But delivery is almost equally important. So very, very important. Yes, I think you missed one question because speak with confidence. A person is.
Then I said you would say that it is not correlated with the subject. No, otherwise, I could have read that.
A good orator, because every person is not going to get divine power. My question.
No, his question is.
Dr. Shobha Gulati.
How can we know? What matters more, volume or the intensity of the words? This is by Sadhika.
Okay, what matters, volume or intensity? See, volume has to be stable volume, or a little zone of volume can be there. It cannot be so loud that people are disturbed. It cannot be so weak that you are not able to come out of it. And if you mean volume of content, then content has to be voluminous also. But intensity is a very good word that you have used. Intensity is vital, because that means you are not allowing the attention of the listener to drift. So if you're an intense speaker, you will bring them back to you all the time. And you will come up with these punchlines and you will basically compel them to listen to you. Because you can't see this question, I'll take it. It is basically, do you think being overconfident can be lethal while speaking?
What time it has been posted?
I can't see the time, but it says, what do you think being overconfident is lethal while speaking in public? I think so. I think overconfidence is not very good for you in any field of endeavor. Overconfidence can get you out if you're a batsman. It can make you lose money if you are not careful. It can make you basically lose in business. It can make you get into inquiries in government. So basically, you have to be balanced and not overconfident. You have to be doing your job, speaking job at the moment, in a way that you give respect to the audience. You think of them as if they are extremely intelligent people, which mostly they are. And you have to think of them in a way that you respect the audience. Yes.
I'm reading the question of Arpit Chhabra because he has written that he has spoken 30 plus public stages. We will take him live, unmute him also, but meanwhile I will read the question. I have spoken on 30 plus public stages and do not face problems once I get on the stage. However, before the speech, the anticipation of what's coming leads to anxiety and often some choking. Is there any way to overcome that? I will ask the team to unmute Arpit Chhabra, but meanwhile you can take the question.
Yeah, so I would say that you have to remember that you are human. And every time you go on stage, some amount of apprehension will be there. You're not a machine. And that nervousness is okay to an extent. Overcoming it is basically minimizing it. So if you minimize your nervousness, it is basically by practicing before, by talking to people calmly before, by reaching the venue in time. If you are reaching at the last minute, as often happens at various places. So if we reach at the last minute, suddenly we have to speak. It is tough. So be prepared and confident and calm before your speech, and you'll be okay on stage.
But while you say calm, I'm reminded they said, "Rakho kaam se kaam, to hoge bilkul kaam." Then Kabdani. It's good to know speak with confidence, but a person is introvert and hesitant to speak before audience. And one more, how language is a barrier to be a good orator, because every person is not to get divine power. What is your take on that?
Yeah, very true. I said so. So divine power is not for all of us. It is only an inspiration. But if you are receptive, you can. I know for a fact that prayers work. And if you pray before your speech, it might help you. So try that. But coming back to that introvert point, basically, if you are an introvert, that means your personality. In fact, nobody is a total introvert. It is only shades of extrovertishness and introvertishness. So basically, you have to improve your personality by becoming a little more outgoing and speaking a little more. So everyone goes through that journey. And as I said, it is better to speak with familiar people to start with. Speak for 5 minutes on Indian economy or the Indian legal system or Indian sports or Indian agriculture or whatever you want. And speak for 5 minutes to an audience where you are comfortable. After you have done that a few times, then go to the big pond and start swimming over there with where unfamiliar people are there. It will work. Gradually, you'll get better.
We have unmuted Arpit Chhabra. Arpit Chhabra, you can take your question to Mr. Vivek directly. Mr. Arpit? Okay. So Dr. Shobha Gulati asks, while judging some public speaking competition, I've come across instances wherein students who are overconfident tend to forget. Do you think being overconfident be lethal while speaking in public?
Yeah, that I answered partly already. I agree with you that overconfidence can be detrimental to your performance. So sometimes in overconfidence, you actually miss out a few points or you start saying things which are not relevant. So be humble. Humility shines more than overconfidence. Being humble will help you to be genuine. And it is said that what comes from the heart goes to the heart. Because you are genuine in what you say. Overconfident auras will be a little more brash. So try and calm yourself down.
We will unmute Shubha Gulati because we would like to have her insights also. Vaishnavi God, how can we address a hostile group?
How can we address the hostile group? Well, hostile groups I have encountered because I've been an administrator And the only way to do it is by listening to them calmly and not reacting or responding. All you have to say to them is that I am listening to you now, and you please calm down for a minute and let me speak for half a minute. Something like that, they will become better. Sometimes there is an agitated group of people. Better to just quieten them down with patience, let them get over their angst. And once they are quiet, then you'll be all right. So I have handled these kinds of crowds a lot. And calmness will help you again. Confidence. Actually, the key word is calm confidence. So calm confidence will get you to where you want to be. Yes, ma'am.
So Nathi, I just wanted to clarify that thing. I just wanted to share this, that I was judging over some competition, and there were two students who started off very well.
She is Dr. Shobha Gulati. Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sir has already, actually he has already clarified my points. I just wanted to share that there was a debate competition going on, wherein some of the students had started on very well. They were very well going through these speeches, and somewhere in mid between they felt overconfident and lost control of their speech itself. Some started fumbling sometimes, and sometimes, like sir, they said, they just went out of the way and started speaking things which were actually irrelevant. So you have already told that humility always overshines confidence. So it is better to keep a stable mind. So you've already answered my question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Again, iPhone, what is the best way to start a speech or a presentation?
Yeah, the best way to start is with warm welcome to everyone, and maybe a little bit of subtle humor also. That, you know, this is an after lunch speech. I hope you're not feeling sleepy. I'll do my best to keep you awake. Even that much of a little light-hearted remark will be a good way to start. Also, be smiling when you start. Because in the middle of your speech, you often forget to smile. Even I forget to smile at times. So when you are starting off, start with a cheerful demeanor. That will help you.
Point well taken. They say smile takes you a mile. So once you have taken a mile and while in a stride, it will help you. Gurmeet Sethi, how to improve communication skills from your point of view?
I think every day you have to read and write a little more. I think people who read books are better at communication. So apart from your legal books and case history, please read some autobiographies, some inspiring books that will improve your communication skills. And oral skills by practicing, as I said, with 5-minute speeches, 5-minute extempore speeches before people. And also you can try to watch lots of YouTube videos of people who speak well. And writing skills, if you include them in communication skills, it's never ending. I am a writer. I write a column for Hindustan Time. Every time it's a challenge to come up with good language, good vocabulary, good ways of expressing. So it's an ongoing process.
Mr. Vivek, though the topic was on speaking, once I am also an avid follower of yours. I follow your articles and all the forays. I would just like how one can improve the writing skills as such.
Yeah, I think you'll have to read more. For improving your writing skills, you have to read good writers. Yuval Noah Harari, he writes very well. You can read anyone. You can read Narayan Murthy's book. You can read Nandan Nilekani. You can read Dalai Lama, Usain Bolt. Read books, autobiographies. I think that will help you to improve your writing skills also. Because you come across expressions which are usage, which is better. And till today, even the editorials are worth reading in most of the newspapers. So it's good to do that.
Kshitij Sharma, a good friend of mine, and he knows you because both of you are Johnians. He poses a question, sir, we understand that you are an author. Could you share some more about your books, and especially the latest one, to Finding Success, probably that 52 skills book which you have written?
Yeah, Finding Success Within. So I have the book with me, and this is always here. In fact, every day I have a webinar, so I always show this book, but today I was hesitating. So today, let me show it now. Finding Success Within is my book, and it is 52 life skills for young people. It is basically a book on how you can improve your success chances in life, and what is the meaning of success. It comes from within. It's happiness, which is success. And that's another topic for another day. But basically, this book is something which is close to my heart. And young people, especially younger people, should read it.
Ash poses, he has sent the chat privately. He says, sometimes you are equipped with the content and believe you can deliver it pretty well. But at the same time for delivery of the content approaches, you start developing brain freeze. How do you think that we can get over it?
I think brain freeze basically comes with your overall restless kind of mind. And meditation twice a day will definitely help you. Brain freeze will come when you are tense because of the situation. And that tense situation occurs because your mind is not letting you rest. Your breath is flowing fast. So if you meditate, watch your breath for a while. That is a very simple technique. Just keep noticing your breath before this, whatever you have to do, 5 minutes, and your breath will calm down, your mind will calm down, brain freeze will warm up.
I think this tip probably Rishabh Pant will also have to take, because he's also talented, well prepared, but he's not able to deliver the way he should be.
Yeah.
Gagan Kohli, the words not spoken so often, reading newspapers etc. bit loudly as one goes through the various words, facts can improve in public speaking and bring confidence. Do you believe that the take what he has taken for himself is a good advice which can be put across to the platform?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when you have facts, then you will improve your confidence levels and you will improve your speech delivery. There's no doubt about it. You will be much better off. Bring in confidence also. Content is, as I said, 51% of the battle won. 49% is the delivery part. So various words, expressions can be adopted in your speech, which are impressive, no doubt. But they should be comfortable, a comfortable part of you. You should be comfortable with them.
Since we are live on Facebook, a dear friend of mine, an elder brother, I've just seen that Mr. Kapil Kakkad is also watching us live on the Facebook. That gives a more spirit that the people across the platform, we are live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and on this platform they're watching. Eliza Sharma, what is the common mistake speakers make while delivering a speech and how to rectify the same?
The most common mistake is to go overboard. And that mistake is basically that you don't stick to your time. And we don't stick to our time because we don't apportion the time between the various parts of our speech. Supposing there are 4 parts to your speech, an introduction, 2 main topics, and a conclusion. So you have to apportion time. If your introduction goes on for 10 minutes or 12 minutes, and your total time is 20 minutes, then that's the problem. The other part could be that you are not speaking in a manner which is making an impact on the audience. That comes with practice. I remember one of our teachers, he would just go on reading from the book, mumbling something. We don't know what he was saying. And we would be in our own world. So you have to connect. That is important.
Ashish Sharma, how to motivate the younger generation for effective and motivating, and how to improve the communication skills? Slightly elaborate more.
Yeah, communication skills you can improve by practicing a lot of oral speaking, reading more, newspaper reading. Don't watch TV news. They have pathetic communication skills. TV news is something I would advocate people to reduce. And watch more of lyrical kinds of language. Better language is written in books than is spoken normally. So read P.G. Woodhouse, read Agatha Christie, read anything that you feel is close to your heart. So that you like reading. Communication skills also will come from practicing speaking in new ways, new lingo, different kinds of modifications in your improving your speech all the time.
Once you have said that we should hear to Obama to improve ourselves. Whom do you another speakers according to you who are good speakers we should watch on the YouTube?
Yeah, there is Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, you can note his name, Simon Sinek. So he's a very famous speaker. He's absolutely fabulous. You can watch him also. And you can even watch someone like Roger Federer. I mean, just look at how Federer is so balanced while responding to questions in a press conference. How much he limits himself to how much he should be saying, not more. Lots of things to learn.
I think we don't have any questions. We have, it was a wonderful session, but before we part, fortuitously enough, we have Shruti Bedi, who has been this part of our journey during all this lockdown period, who has been a backbone for this entire platform. She's also, Dr. Shruti Bedi, you know her well, because I've seen large number of places where you have been together, where she's been speaking. She's also a TED Talk speaker. Before I will ask her to formally propose the vote of thanks, few tips from Shruti Bedi also. Shruti Bedi, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas Chatrat. It's really been such a pleasant time today that, in fact, refreshing that we haven't had more of legal jargon being, narrated on this platform, but it's a refreshing change to hear Mr. VIVEK ATRAY, and I'm sure the audience would have enjoyed him thoroughly. I would not attempt to give more tips. I think Vivek sir has already covered quite a bit, and in fact the tips that he's given you, that it's really good to hear good speakers, and one of my favorite speakers too is Barack Obama. I think he's brilliant as well. A very important part of public speaking, I think, is really knowing how to modulate and give your pauses and do not speak in a monotonous manner. But that's something that you've already spoken about, sir. And I think that's a very important part of Mr. Bajpayee's speech as well, like you were covering. It's been such a pleasure to hear you speak and refresh my little points on speech as well. And I want to, in fact, say that lawyers generally don't speak if they're not going to be paid for it. So I think the tips that you've shared today are going to help them to make money as well, which is more than what the different subjects of law that we've been, hearing on this platform. And that's something which will help all of us. Mr. Vivek ATRAY, to share with you, has been a part of many of our events, especially at the IS Center, where the university has an IS Center where we prepare students for mock interviews for their various competitions, whether it's in the field of the civil services or judiciary or any other competition. And he's always been with us, standing neck to neck, helping us, because what is required to prepare the students to prepare for interview is something what he's talked about today. And not only that, he is able to combine the brilliance and the knowledge of the practical working of the Indian political system, but also that he is able to give them tips on how to speak and conduct yourself while presenting or while undergoing an interview. So he's been one of the stalwarts, I can say, who's been a part of that venture of the IS Center, as well as Punjab University, the Department of University Institute of Legal Studies. Professor Ratan Singh has already introduced that, and he's introduced Mr. Vivek ATRAY. Has had the pleasure to have had him over to speak to the students. And the students have always gone back so happy. So it's like a nice meal that they've been able to digest well. And the words have hit home with the students of UILS too. So these are two places. And of course, one keeps on reading your writings, sir. You're a columnist, you're an author, TEDx speaker, and your motivational speeches are all over. And it's been such a pleasure, and my warmest and sincerest thanks to you, sir, on behalf of both the team of Beyond Law CLC as well as the University Institute of Legal Studies, Punjab University, to have had you here today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. For all those who do not know, Dr. Shruti Bedi has a legacy. Justice Jawaharlal Gupta, his father, Dr. Balram Gupta, his brother Shrish Gupta, his elder first cousin, Mr. Nidesh Gupta. You just named them. So she's a very good combination, and her being connected with us on the Beyond Law CLC, though we were quite close to each other, but this platform has brought us on a different pedestal. The thought process, as they say that birds of same thought process fly together. Mr. VIVEK ATRAY was also known to me since long, but I never thought in any time that we will all three connect together, and that to ULS with Professor Ratan Singh. He has also been a backbone that ULS has been got attached, and it was a wonderful session. For all those who want to stay connected with us, just WhatsApp to us on 9872503300 or follow our page on WhatsApp, Facebook or Instagram for further updates. Tomorrow we are having an interesting session which will probably also attract the students of UILS and the other students of University Pan India. It is Article 370 looking beyond politics, and we have none other than Justice Pramod Kohli, who has been the former Chief Justice of Sikkim. He has been an Advocate General of J&K. He has been the President of J&K Bar. We could not have called for anything better. And then we have a Senior Advocate, Ravinder Kumar Raizada, who is one of the key advocate in this Article 370. And for our facilitation, one HSB, again I tell everyone who is the participant that at least they should display their proper name so that we can express the gratitude. He has posted the 100 greatest speech in the history. Our sincere thanks from Beyond Law CLC, which works of professionals from Chandigarh. Mr. ATRAY, it was a wonderful session. Stay connected. We will look forward to you on another session on a different topic, because you have already said 52 skills. I think just we have read one. So we have a large way to go forward. And thank you, Shruti ma'am, and Professor Ratan Singh, the ULS team, and Mr. VIVEK ATRAY. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kas. You've always been very generous with your words. Thank you so much.
No. All the participants, thank you to you, because we would not have been here if you would not have participated. Thank you for encouraging us. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.